Excuse me, can you write this code for me? I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to ChatGPT. And the Windows snipping tool has managed to snip out some of your privacy. And critical bugs are everywhere. And there's nothing you can do about it. These stories and more on today's episode of MSP Dispatch.
This episode is presented by MSP GeekCon 2023, a conference for MSPs by MSPs. Occurring May 21st through the 23rd, 2023 in Orlando, Florida, this two-day event is built around the journey of technical growth from Tier 1 to Tier 3. Visit mspgeekcon.com for more information.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the March 24th episode of MSP Dispatch, your source for news, community events, and commentary in the MSP channel. I'm Matt Fox, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Tony Francisco. How are you doing today, Tony?
Good, brother. Good. End of the week. What an amazing week of everything. Everything was going on. How was your week? What do you got? Any plans this weekend? Talk to me.
Yeah. Oh, it was a busy week. We've gotten so many things done here at MMN. We're working on new shows, working on new content ideas. And I gotta tell you, this weekend, I'm going to nerd out a little bit. I don't know how surprising that really is. I love doing all sorts of little projects when I can. And there was something I wanted to show you before we get into the news, because I think it's going to bring a little nostalgia, maybe give you a little warm feeling inside, maybe even give you some ideas of what you'd like to do this weekend. So how about we talk about that real quick?
Let's do it.
All right. So I'm sure you've had an ISA card or two over the years, eh? And we've got a gentleman here who's actually built an interface to connect an ISA card to a modern motherboard. And he's using the TPM chip slot to make this happen. So I guess in a way that's like, hey, the heck with security. I want my Sound Blaster 16. And that's exactly what he's got connected to this modern motherboard. How awesome is that? Now, hold on. Wait for the screen. Wait, watch what's going to show up. Wait for it. Almost there.
If there's a Creative Labs, that's it.
Hold on.
I'm leaving if it says Creative Labs on there. Get out of here, dude. Oh, yes. Oh
Okay,
my
so
gosh. Okay.
in that short amount of time, we just saw someone take an ISA card that probably has been sitting in a closet for 20 some odd years, connect it to a modern motherboard, and do a demo of Doom on it. Now, great, we can play Doom on anything. You can take a cell phone and play Doom. You could probably put it on like your refrigerator at this point, but are you going to be able to do it with the classic feel of a Sound Blaster 16?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so for the record, everyone, I would get something called Doom Pinky. Now, Doom Pinky is when, see, those that are initiated know, is when you're playing for so long that your pinky actually goes cold and numb, and because you're not moving it, it's completely atrophied, and you're playing for hours. I remember, real quick, just to date myself here. So I ran Doom over before they had shotgun technology, bridging two 14.4 modems together to make 28.8. Before that was actually out, I was running that manually, running IPX, there was a program called Kali, which is SPX over IPX, which, oh my gosh, that was because then I could play Doom from a modem when it first came out, which was unheard of, literally like a year ahead of everyone else doing it, and which pretty much killed about 3 years of my life, like just destroyed it.
Hey, the first time I had AOL, the first month, I think we spent $850. It's the first time I needed a summer job. So these things happen. But oh, the nostalgia of seeing something like that reminds me of being 15 or 16, sitting down at my desk in my bedroom, middle of summer. It's 2 in the morning. I got some cans of like Mountain Dew and Visual Basic 3 open. I'm just causing trouble, and it was just such a nice thing I wanted to share with you. And when you were asking me what I'm going to do this weekend, That video inspired me to get back into some circuit board design. So I'm going to be working on modifying some stuff I've been working. This isn't mine. This is someone else's, but I'm going to do a modified version of it and get it sent off to PCBWay or one of those companies and get some new boards for keyboards fabricated. So that's what I'm doing this weekend. That was something I hope that you and our audience enjoyed. It was a little trip to the past, seen through a modern lens of a newer motherboard. I guess. I don't know. You know what? I've been talking too much. I think we need to get to the news.
Let's do it. Let's get into the news. Coming into my first story, hot from ZDNet.com. How to use ChatGPT to write code? First question is, can you actually use ChatGPT to write code? Can you replace a programmer? What programming languages does ChatGPT know? Well, most of them. PHP, Python, Java, Kotlin, Swift, C#, and even COBOL, Fortran, Forth, Lisp, Algol, RPG, the report program generator, not the role-playing game, and even IBM 360 assembly language. You can even use ChatGPT to explore libraries and resources. I would also like to point out before we go into the story any further that there are important facts about ChatGPT and coding. The first one is that it can, in fact, write useful code. The second is that it can get completely lost, fall down a rabbit hole and chase its own tail and basically produce absolutely unusable garbage. Don't forget there are other AI alternatives for coding. GitHub Copilot, Codium, Code Whisperer, Tab9, Codex, IntelliCode, and Ask Cody. There's a link in our show notes for those particular alternatives. So Matt, let's talk about this because I want to really talk about this for a moment. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, believe that this AI, whatever you want to call it, will have such a positive and negative impact. It's going to straddle somewhere between the Messiah of automating absolutely everything needed that was once out of reach, untouchable. We can now do it, to you are the antithesis of everything that I believe in. This is the way it's always been done. Get out of my house. How dare you? I personally use it to write code and script, and I love it. We just did a notation that's coming up in the show notes earlier or later about the horrible Outlook bug. If you haven't updated your Outlook, please, please, please do it. Not operating system. Go into the application Outlook and just go, to your account and update it to get rid of that bug. It's a non-interactive exploit, which means you don't have to be involved in this and someone can steal your authentication. Update your Outlook now in the background while you're listening to this. So I said, what's a good, maybe a PowerShell code? And I just had it write the PowerShell code for me. And of course I tweaked it to make it a little bit easier, but what an incredible tool to do things instantaneous. I mean, that literally took me 60 seconds and that would have taken, maybe 15, 20 minutes to kind of walk through all this. 60 seconds to knock out something just beautiful. And it can do so much more. What are your thoughts on it writing code? Have you played with it? Have you heard anything about this? Talk to me.
I haven't played with it for the sake of writing code yet, but as someone who's been writing code for many years, I don't know if you know this, but I led a team that was and ended up being a 2005 Cody Awards finalist in the secondary education category. And I was the technical lead on that. And it was a beautiful application we built in C# years ago. This has been something that's been in my mind a lot lately, and I'm excited. And let me ask you, first of all, do you know what a yeoman is?
As in from the Navy level of the naval yeoman?
Well, I think that in multiple contexts, I forget about this, but it's probably related. I'm thinking of a yeoman as someone who's a part of a team, who just gets things done, makes stuff happen so everyone else can do what they need to reach a goal. And there is an application, I believe it's a node-based, called Yeoman, which is meant for delivering scaffoldings for modern applications. I have not used this in a number of years, okay? This has been around for some time. What they do is they've got these generators. They're just the file directory structures and basics for an application that's sitting in a GitHub repo. And you run the application on your side, it pulls everything down, and it essentially gives you a scaffolding to start writing an application on top of. There are all different languages it uses, all different types of programming styles, application types, and I see ChatGPT becoming an intelligent yeoman over time. You know, right now, all that stuff is sitting in GitHub repos and it has to be updated by a human. I want to see very specific needs get pulled down, processed by something like ChatGPT, and then delivered to us as scaffoldings to do very responsible coding on top of, because we know that we've got a strong foundation that follows best practices. That's what I want to see from this.
I love that. As we wrap up the story and we jump into some interesting stories ahead of us, I really want to remind the MSP community and the audience out there, you can easily, and I mean easily, have ChatGPT write code. And by that, you have to be very specific with your syntax, what your asks are. For example, ChatGPT, please provide the steps and code for X with the notations of Y and Z. And it will say, sure, I am no expert coder. However, and it will provide the steps and the code. Now, there may be exceptions, as I noted originally in the story, that it may chase its own tail, but you will know that pretty quickly. What I'd really like to know is from the MSP community, what have you done to use ChatGPT to write something that is so light, such as a Docker, maybe an image in some capacity that can be downloaded, updated, and running in the background. That's actually providing true functionality and value to your customer that is specific to a customer. It's purpose built. Maybe just a browser plugin that's specific to you to summarize a web page. Maybe something for one of your customers' WordPress sites that's so powerful yet specific to them, and you can do it just like that. I'm interested from the MSP community if you've used ChatGPT and what the result has been on that. Personally, huge fan of it. But there's a lot of great tools out there. One of them came from one of the big originals out there, Microsoft Snippet tool. Talk to me.
In my first story, Windows 11 snipping tool privacy bug exposes cropped image content by Lawrence Abrams for Bleeping Computer. A severe privacy flaw affecting Windows 11 snipping tool was discovered by security researchers David Buchanan and Simon Ahrens. Named Acropolis, try saying that, folks, it's not easy. The flaw allows people to partially recover content that was edited out of an image, because it wasn't really edited out. If this sounds familiar, it's because it is. Last week, security researchers found a bug in Google Pixel's markup tool that caused the original image to, the data from the original image to be retained, even though it was edited or cropped out. And the flaw is present in cases where a user takes a screenshot, saves it, crops the screenshot, and then saves the file. What's happening here is related to the way the snipping tool saves images, which is to save the entire image and then crop it rather than saving only the portion that wasn't cropped. It's almost like the information is pushed down to the end of the file and present in metadata instead of actually being removed or truncated properly. Now, this could lead to unintentional sharing of sensitive information, such as personal or confidential data. However, it was also found that if you open an untruncated PNG file, one that has the data at the end still, in an image editor such as Photoshop, and then save it to another file, the unused data goes away. And the reason for that is because applications like Photoshop are going to ignore everything at the end of a file after a particular marker, which is part of the PNG file spec. Now, a spokesperson from Microsoft said they're investigating the reports and they are going to take action as necessary. Now, Tony, what do you think about this? I think that in the line of work that we have, screenshots are something that happen a whole lot. We need them when solving problems, documenting, and there's so much out there, and a lot of information that goes into these things can be sensitive and removed so that we're not at risk when we're sharing information. And it sounds like there may be things out there that we don't want floating around.
So I was looking for an app on my phone that has the same data from just a standard picture, and the EXIF data that you can pull from that metadata is fascinatingly accurate.
Oh, there's so much in there.
So much in there.
Just going to pull it out for everyone really quickly. One of the things that you should be aware in some EXIF data, depending on the phone or the camera you're using, are the latitude and longitude coordinates of where that photo was taken. You might not want anyone knowing that.
Not just the latitude and longitude, down to literally the square foot, which is the part that's, assuming you're making some triangulation, but also the connection mechanisms that you're using to upload that data, as opposed to if there was there's so much data that you can extract from a picture, and it's analogous to steganography, if for anyone who understands what that is, which is essentially syncing a cryptic message inside a picture, but you can put so much. That's exactly what that is, but it's metadata. It's just a message that happens to be, hey, here's the time, the location, your connection point. Here's the hardware,
the camera that was used, the bit depth, the colors, everything is in there. Imagine what you had for lunch. Exactly. If you have a Panasonic. No, I'm just kidding, guys.
Oh my gosh. So I am convinced, absolutely 100% convinced, from a previous, we'll call it a previous job, that everything has an entanglement of legacy data that is inescapable. This happens to be the auditable or surfaced portion of said data. If you dig deep enough, if you take your time to look and maybe correlate some points, you can not just triangulate from a two-dimensional perspective of the location, but you can also, in a three-dimensional pyramid, triangulate the everything from the hardware, the location, the time, what is the context of that picture in relation to other pictures, in addition to, if it's done correctly, wherever you send it to, you can track so much. You can correlate so much data. You have a source and destination. You have the context in between. The fact that they're letting this information leak out should concern people, but there's so many things you should be concerned about if you're concerned about this. So I'm really interested to see how they address this. But I am also interested to see is this a keystone to an avalanche of interest of what about these other things that are happening that we didn't think about before?
I suspect that there's going to be a wave of privacy concerns and checks taking place among most kinds of file formats that we use to share between people. This is a major issue.
Is it just white noise though? Like, is there just so much? It's less of a particular topic or less of an event and more of a process now that's ongoing that we constantly have to address, because everything that we use around us has entanglement to code that can be exploited in some capacity. And then, oh man, okay, well, whatever.
I think that the answer to that's very simple. Privacy is an ongoing process, and that will never change. That's it.
Whew, ironically, my next story is we are talking exactly about that. From darkreading.com, CISA warns about unpatched ICS vulnerabilities lurking in critical infrastructure. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, this week issued advisory for a total of 49 vulnerabilities in 8 industrial control systems, ICSs, used by organizations in multiple critical infrastructure sectors, some unpatched. ICS and operational technology environments are no longer air-gapped, as they once used to be, and they're increasingly accessible over the internet. The result is that both ICS and OT networks have become increasingly popular targets for both nation-state actors and financially motivated threat groups. 7 of the 49 vulnerabilities in CISA's advisories were in Siemens RuggedCom APE 1808 technology and currently have no fix. The vulnerabilities allow attackers to elevate privileges on a compromised system or crash it. Organizations in multiple critical infrastructure sectors around the globe currently use the product to host commercial applications. 17 other flaws are present in other third-party components that are integrated into Siemens Scalance W700 devices, and 13 of the newly disclosed vulnerabilities affect Delta Electronic Infrastructure Device Manager, a technology that organizations in the energy sector use to monitor the health of critical systems. Matt, I'm going to crawl under my desk now. Because all I hear is that, hey, the threat actors have the ability to crash a system, elevate privileges as needed, which of course is even scarier. And these are in infrastructure services. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I did have a tinfoil related joke for the previous story, and this just knocked it completely out of my head. One thing I will say is I don't mind certain systems on the internet being accessible, like say my microwave or a toaster, because the fallout from that, a burrito gets overcooked or something, I'm not terribly worried about that. But when I hear the term critical infrastructure and an increase in accessibility that leads to risks, that it makes me nauseous. It presents so many issues across the entire country at such a low level. And of course, the lower level where something occurs, the larger impact it's going to have on the greater population.
But think about you're mentioning the point, which is infrastructure. What is infrastructure? Are we talking about waterways? Are we talking about power systems? Are we talking about flight control mechanisms or the system that monitors said flight control? Are we talking about a bus transit system, a railway?
The foundations of commerce. The foundations of the services we need to exist from one day to the next. That's what I'm hearing.
Are we talking about a monitoring device that monitors the traffic for the servers that control Tesla's autopilot?
Ooh, that could lead to some serious problems.
So I would love to say that this is not an issue, but I am going to stress again, Ray and I talk about it not just once or twice a show, but I believe once or twice every few minutes.
And in Discord, and in the Discord. Let's just get it out there for everybody.
Out of the show, in the show. But please, everyone, update once a month. Set a reminder just to, maybe if you have, I have this rule, if you can't explain it, you don't understand it. Once you understand something, once you understand the mechanics, the anatomy of how something works, you can control it or manipulate it better because you know what is not malleable, what is malleable. You can be more effective in your resources and time. So if you create a list, you're explaining your list of assets, you understand what you have to update. Whittle through that. You can, if you,
I'm sorry, Tony, it sounds like you're talking about like the very first parts of, say, NIST CSF. I mean, you can't.
Now I'm just being, I am so sorry. I was being logical and rational.
I just wanted to point it out to you. I just wanted to point it out. I don't want you to go too far.
Please, everyone, create a list of your assets as soon as possible. If you don't have that, spend your time after you're done updating your Outlook client, create a list of assets and check every one of those firmware updates. If there's a software update, there's a firmware update. If it's out of date, figure if you can air gap it in some capacity. Just please. Anyway, we're going too far. I want to hear from everyone out there. I want to hear from the MSPs. If you have your list of assets, which by the way, I would be truly surprised, yet curiously very, very pleased if for some reason you said, I have a very detailed list of every single one of my assets. I have them divided, but by IoT devices, network devices, camera devices. Here's our general, computer, desktop, computer LAN. Here's my list of assets, and we go through this type of schedule to update the firmware. If you have that, let me know. Let us know on the show, because you know what? I will, and I'm not saying this in the stalkerish way, but I will hold you on a pedestal. Oh,
yeah. It's nice to know when people are doing the right thing and they know exactly why they're doing it. That's it.
Matt, how can they let us know?
They could let us know a number of ways, but the way I would love to know is through our Discord. I love Discord. Come on in. Join us, please. Get to know us a little bit. Get to know about our other shows like AI Roundup. All right, but you know what? We've got more to talk about today, so let's get into that.
Do we have notables?
I think we do. In my first notable, Microsoft launches Loop, its Notion competitor, in public preview. Written by Kyle Wiggers for TechCrunch. Microsoft has launched Loop, a Notion competitor, in some ways Microsoft's answer to Google Workspace Spaces, in public preview. Now, what is this? It's a hub for managing tasks and projects that sync across the entire Microsoft 365 environment, applications and services. Its synchronizing capabilities allow components like tables to be reflected wherever they're embedded or shared. It's pretty cool. Loop can search and recommend relevant documents and coworkers when you're creating a workspace. This works for up to 50 people at once, but Microsoft has already advised that could be a little overwhelming, so they suggest groups of 2 to 12 so that the feel of the interface and the work going on doesn't become too claustrophobic. That's their term. Microsoft is also building the Copilot into Loop. Now, Copilot will include or provide suggestions for brainstorming, blueprinting, and it allows more than one user to edit and share information in Outlook or Teams. Now, we're talking about a collaborative piece of software living inside of another collaborative piece of software, and that sounds fantastic to me. Now, Loop is available to users with a Microsoft account or Azure Active Directory account. And just real quick, as a reference to last week's episode, we talked about our resource of the week being a video on YouTube that contains 7 updates for Microsoft Outlook. And Loop Components was included in that list. So I really do suggest that you click on the link that's going to be either here or maybe over here and check that out. In my next notable, NinjaOne appoints Robert Gibbons as their new Chief Technology Officer. Robert is a seasoned software leader and former Datto CTO who's going to be leading engineering and innovation. Robert's joining Ninja at a time of significant expansion. They have a workforce of about 1,000 users right now, and that's roughly double what it was last year. He's going to be leading the company's worldwide technology and engineering teams to accelerate innovation and business growth. Gibbons holds degrees from NYU, Fordham Law, and Cornell, and his career spanned over 20 years, and he's also previously held positions as CTO for Kasana and Pika 9. Robert, welcome to the space. Well, not welcome, you've been here before. I hope to meet you soon. Good luck.
And my first notable mention, straight from TechCrunch.com, Canva is introducing a new series of features, including a suite of AI-powered tools and a brand hub. The company is launching Assistant, which lets users search for design elements and provide quick access to features. The tool can give you recommendations on graphics and styles that match your existing design. Canva is also launching Beat Sync, which automatically matches video footage to a soundtrack of your choice, along with a new Translate feature that automatically translates text and designs into over 100 different languages. And in my next notable mention, from bleepingcomputer.com, North Korea has hackers using the Chrome extensions to steal Gmail emails. A joint cybersecurity advisory from the German Federal Office for the Protection of Constitution and the National Intelligence Security of the Republic of Korea warned about Kim Soo-kie's use of Chrome extensions to steal target Gmail emails. Kim Soo-kie, aka Thallium Velvet Kolima, is a North Korean threat group that uses spear phishing to conduct cyber espionage against diplomats, journalists, government agencies, university professors, and politicians. Initially focused on targets in South Korea, the threat actors expanded operations over time to target entities in the US and Europe. The attack begins with a spear phishing email urging the victim to install a malicious Chrome extension, which will also install in any Chromium-based browser, such as Microsoft Edge or Brave. The extension is named AF and can only be seen in the extension list if the user enters Chrome or Edge or Brave/extensions in the browser's address bar. Once the victim visits Gmail through the infected browser, the extension automatically activates to intercept and steal the victim's email content. Be careful out there, everyone.
Hey y'all, Phil Buck here with your AI Roundup for this week, and believe it or not, in the arena of AI image generation, a new challenger approaches! Yes, the market continues to be more and more saturated as Adobe announced the beta of their generative AI platform, Firefly. For those familiar with Stable Diffusion, this new suite may not impress, but for creatives that already subscribe to Adobe's products, this is going to be a comprehensive, and from the looks of it, a very easy to use tool to slot into their workflow. Features like text to image, extend image, inpainting, smart portrait are either features we've seen in other image generative AI or simply just a pre-existing feature of Adobe's products already. But a few standouts include text to template, which allows you to input a prompt like "it's her 6th birthday" and get an editable template for a birthday card. Text to vector, which creates detailed and layered vector images you can edit with Illustrator. And I think it's worth noting that I have not seen anything like this from any other platforms so far. And there's even a feature that creates stylized text from a prompt, which, if we're being honest, along with hands and a few other things, the AI has been sorely needing some help with. If you're interested in Adobe Firefly, it's currently only in beta, and you can request access through their website. We'll be sure to put the link in the show notes.
And straight from, as Ray Orsini would say, the tubes, we have some feedback. The first one's from Amy Carr. Great episode, quite possibly one of my faves to date. Tony, that's me, really hit the nail on the head with his interview with Sharon. Thank you so much, Amy. Looking forward to more episodes like this in the future. Thank you so much for that positive feedback. I love security, and she was a ninja, and who doesn't like talking to a ninja? The next bit of feedback from the tubes from Carrie Wagner. Quote, and in other news, Skynet was born last week. Thank you for reminding all of us at hashtag ChatGPT. Thank you.
There are plenty of amazing upcoming events taking place across the community, so let's see what's happening this week. Later today at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, Channel Engage, incorporating OpenAI into managed services, opportunities, and challenges. On March 26th through the 28th, an in-person event, Tag National, in Charleston, North Carolina. And March 28th through the 29th, another in-person event, PAX 8 Security Bootcamp in Kansas City, Missouri. And coming from the MSP Media Network this week, we have, on March 29th at 10 a.m. Eastern, AI Roundup Episode 4. On March 30th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, the Tech Bar Podcast, Episode 55 with Marvin B. of Uncle Marv's IT Business Podcast. And as always, on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern, MSP Dispatch, presented by the MSP Media Network.
So, how'd you like today's show? If you like it, hit that thumbs up button. If not so much, go ahead and hit it, 3 times? 5 times, 7, 9. How many times are we going to have them hit it today, Tony? As many times as the AI hand would have on it sounds good to me. Everyone out there, did you know that we have a Discord where we post stories all week? Not just the ones we cover, but other ones we find interesting. And if you find them interesting too, and you talk about them, there's a good chance they're going to end up on an episode of MSP Dispatch. Now, as Ray's friend Rich Banky says, make sure to tell a friend. Also, be sure to follow us on social media at MSP Media TV. Have any questions? Email news@mspmedia.tv for answers on the next episode, or leave us a voicemail at 833-MSP-Network. You always got to say that with a smooth voice. Now, Tony's poking down like this a lot. You know what? We're just going to make a little more something for Phil related to Discord. All over the place. Everything is Discord. We want to see you in Discord. We like seeing ourselves in Discord, but it gets a little boring. We want more people in there. So why don't you please join us? But until then, Tony, what do you have any closing notes for this episode?
It was an awesome episode. I'm so glad I didn't call you Ray this time, but I don't know how long I can continue that. I have literally a little sticky note that's on the camera. It says, not Ray, not Ray, not Ray. Otherwise, loved doing the show with you and loved updating the audience. Loved the feedback from the audience. It's great. I love my job.
All right. Well, then I think we're just going to close on saying, everyone that watched us today, let us know what goes on with your Sound Blaster 16 this weekend. Until then,
take care.
Have a good one.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.
Excuse me, can you please write this code for me? I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to ChatGPT. And critical excuse me. That was, there's your opening bug. Okay. Here we go. Hold on.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the March 24th episode of MSP Dispatch. We're your source for news, commentary,
and so much more. Next. Okay.
Hey, y'all, Phil Buck here. I can't even say my own name. Give me a break.